still got plenty of time.
Epstein. He's got a little hole. Epstein is quick. Epstein could be gone. Racing for the flag. He'll get there. Touchdown, Illinois.
Emmys. And welcome back. Not welcome back. Welcome to Illini Drive on WPGU. And is all welcome back to. But welcome to Illini Drive here on WPGU 107.1. Brought to you by the Illinois Fighting Illini. For tickets and info on them, go to fightingillini.com or call 1-866-ILLINI-1. You just heard the call from ESPN's coverage. Also credit to Fighting Illini Productions for providing the video. That was Mike Epstein's touchdown run in the first half in the South Florida loss. But I'm Orri Benatar, alongside Will Gerard, Tommy Polcyn, and Jake Hasan. Jade Hilton is not with us tonight. She is busy with some schoolwork. Hello to everyone on Urbana Public Television watching on this Wednesday night. Thank you for tuning in. And if you're watching on YouTube, thanks for tuning in as well with your YouTube views. Those are always nice. Make sure to like the video, comment if you want to. But we're going to start off by talking, obviously, about Illinois football. The Illini, with their first loss of the season in Game 3, which is something positive. Their first loss came in Game 3. Last year it came in Game 2 to North Carolina. But it was a big loss over in Tampa. They did end up playing the game in Florida at Lovie Smith's old stopping ground when he was the Buccaneers coach. Charlie Strong and the Bulls beating Illinois 47-23. And I think it's only fair to start. We have to talk about that first quarter because that was one of the craziest first quarters I think I've ever seen in a football, because you had the blocked field goal. You had the blocked extra point return by the Illini. You saw South Florida turning the ball over. You saw Illinois turning the ball over. There was no offense whatsoever. And at the end of the first quarter, it was 6 or 9-2. It was 9-2 at the end of the first quarter. Like, that is not a football score. That's something you'd maybe see after like 6 innings of baseball if these two teams played. It was 9-2 after one. Then USF scored 2 touchdowns in the second, and then Epstein had the touchdown run also in the second half. 2 more touchdowns from USF in the third, and then Jeff George Jr. came in. We'll talk more about quarterbacks shortly. 14-10 in the fourth. Illinois' only quarter they outscored, but the big 47-23 loss. The big stat that I got to pull out, though, is rushing for USF. 3 100-yard rushers. That just doesn't happen. Quentin Flowers, the quarterback, 280 passing yards. He threw 4 touchdowns, and then he ran a touchdown and had 112 on the ground. Darius Tice had 110 on the ground. Dearnay Johnson had 101 on the ground. So, like, what happened? You know, South Florida is a ranked team, but, Tommy, this team was stopping the run. They were stopping Western Kentucky, and some people said maybe Western Kentucky was potentially a better offense, but this USF team, it's Quentin Flowers is powerful, but, like, you can't give up 3 guys with 100 yards.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the first real rushing attack that we've seen this year that's, like, honestly caliber of a top 25 team. One of the things they kept mentioning during the broadcast with Mac Brown and everybody was saying, like, hey, this team is way more athletic than Illinois. Well, that might not necessarily be true, but, I mean, you could definitely see that we were outmatched in some categories there this weekend. And I think that the biggest thing, like we were saying, was they had that real big line, a lot of fast players, a lot of strong guys on the outside, and it just really didn't end up matching up well for us.
Yeah, Jake, overall, I mean, running the ball ran really well for South Florida. For Illinois, it was okay. Mike Epstein, 60 yards, had the touchdown run. His biggest run was a 45-yarder, which was the touchdown run. But, like, overall, that first quarter, though, come on, that was just insane. And after the first quarter, you thought, oh, maybe Illinois can stay in this game. The defense is looking okay. The special teams is playing out of its mind. So, you know, what were you thinking when that first quarter ended?
I mean, when that first quarter ended, I was kind of scared because it seemed like University of South Florida they were like throwing the game at Illinois in the first quarter. They were giving the Illini the chance to put the game away in the first quarter with the blocked extra point, the blocked field goal, and then Illini just couldn't do it. I mean, Illinois was just giving it right back to them, and if you do it that many times, as we saw, the other team's going to capitalize, and obviously South Florida got it together and didn't want to lose to Illinois on their home field, and they showed it.
Yeah, and we all thought that South Florida was going to be a little bit of an easier game maybe. The Illini had a real chance to win because South Florida had a tough time in their first 2 games. They canceled the UConn game because of the hurricane, so they hadn't played for 2 weeks. Turns out it was the complete opposite, and Quentin Flowers just looked tremendous. He was basically an upgraded version of Riley Neal of Ball State. Like, Riley Neal is a very good physical quarterback, got a lot of runs on those long third down plays, but Quentin Flowers, that guy was just, he's got an arm, he was throwing the ball like crazy, he was running like a worse version of Lamar Jackson. I mean, he
did it all.
Yeah, he did it all. He's a great player, and South Florida overall played a very good game, but to be fair, Illinois just showed have shown a lot of inconsistencies in non-conference play. The defense has been pretty inconsistent for the most part. The only consistencies I've seen from the Illini are the special teams has still been playing well. Blake Hayes is punting the ball like crazy, and he's doing a good job of it. They've blocked 3 kicks this season. It was the field goal against Ball State, and then they blocked 2 kicks in the first quarter of this game. So the special teams is consistently playing well, but also it's the consistency of the offensive line not performing. The offensive line has probably been the weakest point for Illinois, and they just lost another starter, Larry Boyd, getting injured in the South Florida game. So how is Illinois going to recover from that? All these offensive line injuries. I mean, you can't play well if your offensive line's not blocking. And full first half, it wasn't happening.
Yeah, I mean, especially with a young group like this, with freshmen like Boyd and everybody on that line. I mean, I think that this bye week is huge because that gives them a little bit of time to fix up some of those things, hopefully get back out there soon. But I don't really see any improvement coming if we don't get that line healthy, because it's all a matter of getting that consistency, keeping the same guys together, letting them kind of know, hey, I know you're blocking this way, that. It's not going to improve unless that happens.
Yeah, I mean, Jake, it has to improve. That's probably the area that needs to improve more than the whole quarterback situation. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, there were already concerns coming into the season because it was a young group and we weren't sure how they would fit together. And then the injuries started happening, making the situation worse. So, I mean, like Tommy said, the bye week's huge to kind of recover, get some kind of group chemistry going and see what happens against Nebraska.
Now let's shift the conversation to what most people around Champaign-Urbana have been talking about. It's the quarterback situation with the Illini. So the first half, Chase Crouch played after having won the first 2 games of the season. He was undefeated as a starter in his college career. This is his first ever loss as a starter. 8 of 18, 76 yards and an interception. He ran for 23 yards. His longest run was a 13-yarder, averaged 2 yards a carry. So, and then Crouch came out for Jeff George Jr. Second half, George Jr. played. He played a lot of the second half of the season because Wes Lunt was injured and Chase Crouch was injured too. George Jr. came in and played okay. 12 of 22, 211 yards, a touchdown. He did throw 2 interceptions. He's always thrown a lot of interceptions, even last year. I mean, he had a 4-interception game against Wisconsin. But now it's a real question of who's going to play a quarterback because we got Chase Crouch. We got Jeff George Jr. Cam Thomas, potentially. He's the freshman. But now, a story that just came in today, a brand new quarterback is coming to Champaign-Urbana. Former Central Florida quarterback Pete DeNovo practiced with the Illini today, and the Tampa Bay Times first reported that he has transferred to Illinois. He is a pro-style quarterback, 6'2", 201 pounds, from Tarpon Springs, Florida. He went to the same high school as sophomore linebacker Jake Hasan, which is very close to Jake Hasan. So Jake is basically on the football team.
People called me Jake Hansen until I was in like 6th grade.
Really?
Every time.
Maybe they mean you
Without
in this
fail.
case. This is probably you. It's
Yeah,
definitely
probably,
not
definitely.
Jake Hansen on Illinois football.
Definitely not.
But this Pete DeNovo guy, does he have any chance of getting into the starting lineup by the Nebraska game next Friday?
I'd say no. I mean, I looked at his numbers and in his 3 snaps or his 3 passes through the time he has played there, they've gone for -5 yards. So, I mean, I don't know. He could also, I mean, I don't really know much about the UCF team, but I don't really see that being likely. If anything, I could see them possibly giving Cam Thomas a shot. But at the same time, too, he's young. You don't want to rush him too much. I think it's Chase back out there against Nebraska.
I mean, to me, Jake, this is a panic move. This is Illinois just saying, you know what? We just need to get another guy in the depth chart. We need 4 quarterbacks. Let's add DeNovo into the mix with Crouch, George Jr., and even Cam Thomas.
I mean, I think this is kind of a slap in the face to Cam Thomas. Like, I mean, yeah, he's young, and yeah, you want to kind of bring him along slowly, I guess. But also, when you bring in another guy who was at UCF and didn't do anything spectacular, not even barely average there, I mean, it's kind of a slap in the face to him. Maybe it starts kind of a fire in practice. Maybe gets some competition going. I mean, who knows? I mean, like you said, it's just a depth move to see if there can be some healthy competition to see if someone can push someone else in practice.
Yeah, I mean, DeNovo played for UCF in 2014 behind Blake Bortles the year they won the Fiesta Bowl against Baylor. So he wasn't going to get any playing time then, and then he didn't play at all last year. What did he do? 0 for 1?
Yeah, 0
played some
completions
receiver,
on
actually,
1
too.
attempt.
Yeah, and he
He
played
actually played
receiver,
some
too.
receiver, too.
So maybe use him at receiver. I mean, our receiving options are looking. I mean, Ricky Smalling, 99 yards. That's pretty good. Mike Dudek at 65. They're looking solid. Lewis Dorsey at 62. Malik Turner has not been doing too well so far, and he was a Big Ten preseason watch list.
I was surprised at Malik. They were trying to throw him a lot of like short bubble screens, and like
That's not
that's
his
not
game.
his game. If you want to do that with Dudek or like Epstein, sure. But I feel like Malik's more of that downfield threat, and we didn't really try and go for that at all.
I think I have a theory. I mean, because Crouch especially has not thrown the aptitude to throw the deep ball at all. I mean, when he did against Ball State, he was throwing to the opposite end of the field. He wasn't. I mean, we saw a couple deep throws to Malik in week 1, and he had to come back across his body and change the route just to try and get to the ball. So
Yeah.
I think that's more of where that's coming from.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, everything you're saying is making me think the offensive play calling, I don't think has either been too fantastic from Garrick McGee, honestly. First quarter, second quarter, they're calling screen plays on 1st and 20 when you're down in your own side of the field or even, on USF side. So you just got to call positive plays. And I think they're just calling plays. That's where the quarterback controversy comes in because Chase Crouch is not much of a downfield throwing threat. He's better with the screen passes. But at the same time, if you have that offensive line that can block, you have those deep passing plays, you have those play action plays, that gives Crouch a chance. If he doesn't find open man, he runs for a gain of 12, gain of 13. That's where, for me, I don't know why people just started to blow up in everyone's faces that there is a quarterback controversy with Lovie Smith's side because honestly, it's not like Chase Crouch was making horrible or bad decisions in the first half against South Florida. He just wasn't getting the support from his offensive line, from his receivers. That to me is the biggest thing. Just like in the pros, Mike Glennon, for example, didn't play very well.
Oh God,
he didn't play
when
well.
you have to make a comparison to Mike Glennon,
but
it's not going well.
It's not the comparison to Glennon. It's more so like, for example, Glennon's offensive line is not great, but it's not terrible. So you can actually blame him because he made some bad decisions. Whereas Chase Crouch didn't make any really, really seriously bad decisions in this game. He had 1 interception.
He had no time though.
He had no time in the pocket.
South Florida was just they were cutting through the offensive line like a hot knife through butter. Like they were in the backfield in an instant.
Yeah, no, I was gonna make a comment about like Glennon. I'm as big on Trubisky as anybody. I honestly think Glennon looked pretty good on Sunday. The Bears were dropping everything. The receivers were horrible.
I don't think
Glennon was bad though.
You're in the minority in that, I'm pretty sure.
I don't think he was that bad.
I mean, obviously we're going to talk about it in final thoughts, but I mean, I have comments about that.
Yeah,
I'm as big on Trubisky as anybody, but I don't think Glennon looked that bad.
we'll get to the Bears later, but I guess to break the ice a little bit, who's starting against Nebraska?
Crouch.
Yeah, Crouch is
I
going to
got
start.
Chase.
Like, this is what I'm saying.
If anything, maybe put Cam up to number 2 on the depth chart. I mean, I don't.
George didn't play terrible.
George didn't
was
play
pretty
terribly,
bad.
but
He
he
was 12
still
for 22 with 2 picks.
I know he still throws interceptions. That's the
pretty
thing.
bad.
And he was playing against, South Florida was half not interested at that point because they're already up by 30 points. So,
I don't know.
but
I think it's going to be Chase.
yeah, but
because
that's what I'm
it's
saying.
Chase.
If it's a quarterback controversy, you're thinking in your head, who's starting on Friday? Is it Crouch? Is it George Jr.? Is it even Thomas? Is it this DeNovo guy that just came? Then it's not a controversy. If the second we think who's starting against Nebraska, it's Crouch. So I don't know where this whole thing of, who's going to start. Maybe Lovey does change it up and does start Jeff George Jr. against Nebraska because you know what? Nebraska's not as good as we thought. They're 1-2. They have a worse record than Illinois. Nebraska lost to who? NIU last week, and
Yeah, that was bad.
they almost came back against Oregon. But guess what? Oregon's now a top 25 team. They're 24 in the country now. So I think he's going to go with Crouch because he wants to keep with the starting option from the beginning of the season, the reliable option. I think Crouch is the best person to give Illinois a victory against Nebraska, but that offensive line has to just pull something out from the sky and just make them block those defensive linemen for the Cornhuskers, because if they can block for Crouch, they can run more creative plays, they can give him a chance to run the ball more, and give a chance for guys like Malik Turner to get downfield and get some big passing plays like we saw last season.
I have kind of what might be a hot take, but I mean, I don't think there's any chance of it happening. But what if Lovey went with little triple option, Chase Crouch, Kendrick, and Epstein? Their run blocking has been not bad. It's not great.
No, yeah.
It's definitely a
better
lot
than what they got.
No, that's what I wanted.
Pass blocking.
Yeah, that's what I wanted
all
to
three
see.
of those guys can run for days.
Yeah.
I think that'd be awesome.
I think it would too. Like when I saw Crouch play against Purdue last season,
Yeah.
the first thing I thought, this guy is tailor-made for triple option.
Yeah.
He's a strong guy. He can run the ball. He's good at the pitch. He's not much of a deep throwing quarterback. But Lovie Smith is a pro coach. He's going to play a pro-style offense, which for me, if I'm thinking as a coach, my opinion would be you got to cater to what your players are good at. Like if you're a baseball coach, don't make everyone hit the same or make everyone pitch the same. If you got a guy who can sling it 80 miles an hour sidearm, let him. Just teach him the right way to do it. Don't make him throw overhand. If you have a quarterback who can run the option well and runs the ball well, put in some option plays. Don't try and adapt them to a system that might not work to their play style.
But it's like you said, he's more susceptible to pro style. Not susceptible, but that's his style.
I know, that's
pro
his
style.
thing.
That's his thing, and he's never changed it before. Not when he was at the pros. I mean, not when he had Jameis Winston, he didn't change it. So I mean,
Well, Jameis isn't a triple option player.
he's not a triple option player, but he's not a pro style offense either.
I think he's the
I mean, why'd they get rid of Lovey? Why promote Cutter then in Tampa?
I mean, they're still sticking with the pro
I mean,
style down there.
but I'm saying like Lovey is like traditional, like set in stone.
Well, Lovey's a run guy.
Right. He's
a deep.
Lovey's a hard nosed football guy.
Yeah. He wants turnovers. He wants defense, special teams.
Yeah, and
That's how he's going to win games.
And he has great defensive players. I mean, Bennett Williams had 12 tackles. Delshon Phillips again with double digits. Isaiah Gay is looking like he could be the defensive player of the year for Illinois.
That's kind of a hot take.
I don't think it is even. Really.
No, Isaiah Gay's looking
looks
really
awesome.
good. No, Isaiah Gay's been the best
Him and
defensive
Roundtree
player.
have been
Roundtree has
phenomenal.
been very good. I think Dunlap coming back is good. Tony Adams getting an interception. Nate Hobbs has looked really good too. There's a lot of just solid players on the defense, but the offense is where you need to have more production, and that's it. The Big Ten is here. It's going to start. The bye week is happening this week. I think it's good for Illinois that they've got that bye, but Big Ten, man, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really, really tough. We saw last year Illinois was only able to get 2 Big Ten wins. I think they could get more, but the biggest thing is the offensive line.
I kind of like that they took this big of a loss going into the bye. Like, I kind of like that they can take that and take whatever lessons they have to from that. Because, I mean, if it was like a close loss, they could just say, all right, we did a lot of things right. Let's just, practice business as usual going to the bye. Like, this kind of loss I feel like has to change the mentality going into the bye week, going into practices, meetings, everything, so that they, and they tell themselves, all right, we have to obviously do something different from what we did last week.
Mm-hmm.
You just started a big spin zone in my head, and it kind of goes back to what I had about Notre Dame a couple weeks ago, which started this past weekend. Good, big win. They're going to beat Ohio State still. That's going to be their redemption.
Oh, my God.
Chase Crouch is going to...
It's not happening.
He's going to make you eat those words.
It's not happening.
Right here in the middle of Ohio.
Oh,
Boom.
God. I mean, if it happened, great. I get to talk about it here after Thanksgiving, but, man, I don't think it's going to happen.
How did what I said about taking a loss into the bye week start that thought in your head?
He just wants Ohio State to lose to make up for Notre Dame losing.
Because
I know, but Notre Dame's going to lose more games than Ohio State this year.
We need to make a bet on this. We'll talk about their commercial, but
I don't know about a bet. I think
we're talking like a little fun bet, like
okay, fine,
like
friendly wager.
Fine, let's do that.
Oh, yeah.
Quick. So
I'm never making that bet again ever. I was so scared. I was so scared.
Before the commercial, here's a quick look. If you're thinking about non-conference play for Illinois Fighting Illini, here's who they're playing next year. Kent State, again, at Memorial Stadium like 2 years ago. And right after Kent State, same as 2015, they're playing Western Illinois, the Leathernecks, again at Memorial Stadium. And then they have a rematch with South Florida, not in Champaign, but in Chicago at Soldier Field. So you got Lovey playing at his old Bucks ground this year. He's going to play at his old Bears ground. Lovey back at Soldier Field next year. That is going to be fun. That should be a fun storyline. But we're going to take a break here. When we come back, we'll give you a quick look at what happened to other Illini sports this past weekend, and just some general college football talk, as we had a lot of exciting games. The rankings are starting to jumble up, and we're starting to get into some conference play. Well, all that and more when we return to Illini Drive on WPGU 1071.
You're watching Illini Drive on Urbana Public Television. Tune in Monday nights at 6 p.m. to listen live on WPGU 1071.
This is an NFL PAT here, and it's blocked. And this could go back for 2 if Illinois can take it all the way. It looks like they're going to. takes it back for 2.
Welcome back to Illini Drive here on WPGU 1071. It is 6:27 p.m. now here in Champaign-Urbana. Orri Benatar returning with Will Gerard, Tommy Polcyn, and Jake Hasan. That was the call from the blocked field goal that led to the 2-point conversion by Illinois. It wasn't a blocked field goal, it was a blocked extra point, which leads to 2 points. Nate Hobbs returned it, and that was in the Illini's loss to South Florida. There were some other Illini results over the weekend, some very interesting ones. We'll start off with volleyball. They were over in Springfield, Missouri, getting 3 wins against Chattanooga, Tennessee State, and a comeback 5-set win against Missouri State. So volleyball will end non-conference play at 9-2. They begin conference play this Wednesday against the Indiana Hoosiers. Baseball had a preseason game at Illinois Field. They won 10-0 against the Prairie Stars. Baseball will be back in action this week at Illinois Field again for preseason against Indiana State. Both tennis teams had tournaments, men's and women's, starting their fall season. Big losses for soccer, though. Thursday, losing to Ohio State 7-0 is only the 4th time that Illinois soccer has given up at least 7 goals in a game. The last time they gave up that many goals was 2012 when they conceded 9 against North Carolina. But after a tough loss on Thursday, they came back and still lost to number 8 in the country, Penn State, in double overtime. But Penn State is 8th in the country. They took them scoreless through 90 minutes. Another loss, though, for soccer. They are now 3-7. Volleyball 9-2. And then you got football at 2-1 after the loss to South Florida. As we move over to general college football talk, 3 weeks are in. We're going to start seeing some conference games. We're going to start seeing some Big Ten conference games, except for Ohio State because they decided to play Indiana in week 1 on a Thursday night, which never happens. So Ohio State will be hosting UNLV in Big Ten play. But Big Ten play will get underway this week. There's some good games to look at. But let's just take a look at week 3 in general in college football. The biggest, most exciting results. You had the Hail Mary Florida threw against Tennessee to win. Big win for the Gators, especially after losing to Michigan in week 1. And then the overtime win for USC over Texas, which lived to the billing. It was dubbed the rematch of the 2006 Rose Bowl. That's probably still the greatest college football game of all time, at least for our generation. Sam Darnold leading the Trojans to the overtime win. What are you?
Iron Bowl.
The thing, though, is that Iron Bowl, the end was amazing. The ending was amazing. That whole Rose Bowl
I'll give you that.
was incredible in 2006. And last year's Rose Bowl between USC and Penn State is up there, too. That was a great game.
Because that was the Bush push year, but
Oh, yeah. That
RIP.
was tough. But the
Shouldn't have
rankings
even been there.
the rankings came in yesterday at noon. Penn State's up to number 4 now, so the Nittany Lions getting some credit after shutting out Georgia State. They are going to play Iowa in a primetime game on ABC over at Kinnick Stadium. It should be a big one. Both teams are undefeated. Iowa looks good, too. USC at 5. You got Oklahoma at 3. Clemson up to 2 after their big win against Louisville. Alabama number 1. The big surprise team, though, Oklahoma State crushed, and I mean crushed, Pittsburgh 59-21. Mason Rudolph, their senior quarterback, has looked tremendous. And Oklahoma State, that Oklahoma State-Oklahoma game could be a playoff decider. Now that we're looking at Clemson probably going to come out of the ACC after beating Louisville. Alabama could still lose to Auburn. Who knows? It's a toss-up, but the chances of a 2 Big Ten team playoff are starting to diminish because Oklahoma is looking great. Baker Mayfield probably top in the Heisman voting, and then you've got Mason Rudolph and Oklahoma State looking really good.
I mean, I think your only hope for a second Big Ten team, I think Penn State is going to make it. I think the only outside hope is Michigan.
Really? You think Michigan?
Because I think Ohio State, I think that one loss, I think that's going to kill them because I think Michigan's going to go undefeated. I think Penn State's going to go undefeated.
But Michigan plays Penn State. So Penn State loses. Right. What is that? What happens then, genius?
Okay, you know what, buddy? I didn't have the schedule in front of me.
See, this is why it's so complicated out of the Big Ten. Penn State plays Michigan. Michigan plays Ohio State. Ohio State plays Penn State. What?
Yeah, so I think Michigan will beat Ohio State. And I think Ohio State has 2 losses. I think Penn State will beat Michigan, and they'll have 1 loss. And then I think Penn State's going to be the only Big Ten team that makes it. I'm saying Michigan will have an outside chance.
It'll be like last year.
Right.
Like when they had an outside chance.
Right. And then I think they're going to end up missing it eventually. I think Penn State's going to be the only Big Ten team that makes it.
I agree with that. I'm going to stick to my original Final Four. I've got USC, Bama, Notre Dame, Penn State.
What is with no? It's not happening, man.
you're
Fighting Irish are not.
Oklahoma or Oklahoma State is going to be in that.
Did you see Brandon Wimbush this weekend?
No.
5 rushing touchdowns, 230 yards at quarterback.
Good for him against Boston College. Clemson's going to beat them.
People were worried about them covering that spread. They won by 29.
Yeah, and Clemson's going to beat
still
them
Boston
by
College.
60.
Okay, but I'm saying like people are like saying, "Oh, Notre Dame's done."
But did you see what
they're so bad.
did you see what
They won by
Clemson did to
29.
Lamar Jackson?
Yes, I did. Clemson's legit.
Clemson's
They're
going
a
to
solid
crush Boston. Boston College has gone totally down the toilet since Matt Ryan
no,
left.
they're
It's been
horrible.
really bad.
They're very
Clemson's
bad.
going to crush them this
Yeah,
week.
they're terrible.
You know what's going to be a really bad game though? Oklahoma against Baylor. All the
Oklahoma's
people,
getting
all the
murdered.
Baylor haters after all the scandals are probably enjoying this so much.
They had a bad game this
They've
weekend,
had
too.
they've had a bad 3 games. They're 0-3, and Oklahoma's undefeated. Baker Mayfield's going to score 7 touchdowns against Baylor. Penn State Iowa's going to be a good game. This could potentially be an Iowa win. Penn State's looking really good, but they haven't really played any good teams yet because Pitt is not as good as we thought. Georgia State, come on, they shut them out. And Akron, come on, they shut them out. This is their first test.
Penn State's been awesome though. I mean, like sure you can say like, "Oh, they haven't played anybody good enough," but Saquon and McSorley look so good.
No, they look
Those
good.
two are probably the top. Like
Not
duo
just
in the
good, they're
country,
just
honestly.
handily
They're
beating.
dominating.
Like they're just like a breeze.
What
Like
are
it's
Barkley's
easy.
numbers this weekend?
But we won't.
Find out.
Good.
But honestly, we won't really. I think this will be the true test for Penn State to begin the season. Now that conference play is underway, they got a tough Big Ten schedule. They got to play Michigan. They got to play Ohio State. This Iowa game is going to be tough for them. And then Michigan, on the other hand, they're going to be at Purdue. And guess what? Purdue's not that bad. Purdue looks okay.
I think Purdue might win that game.
I think Purdue might win that game too. I'd like to see that.
Purdue's pretty decent.
Do you think Purdue could win, Jake?
I think they could, yeah. I mean, like you said, they've looked really good. They've surprised people this year.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
the biggest game with playoff implications, though, this week is probably Mississippi State against Georgia. Big match in the SEC. They're both undefeated. Whoever wins that game probably has a good chance to make the SEC championship. If Georgia wins, they're top 10, maybe even top 7.
I think so.
And Georgia then would have I think they'd be serious contenders to beat Bama in the SEC title game.
I don't know about beat Bama, but they're good. I mean, they look very good. Fromm's been solid. He started last week, right? Is
Yeah.
Fromm still in? And I mean, they've got 2 good running backs in Chubb, and I can't think of the other guy's name, but he's also very solid. I mean, it's a good team. They're not to mess with.
I mean, there's a lot of teams not to mess with this year. But let's move to the Heisman. There's a tough race for who should win the Heisman Trophy. There's a lot of good candidates. You got Baker Mayfield. Last week threw 4 touchdowns, 331 yards against Tulane. He's thrown 10 touchdowns this year, no interceptions. Lamar Jackson, after the Clemson loss, that probably means he's not going to win the Heisman unless he does what he did last year and put up 7 touchdowns a game, basically. Josh Rosen is an outside threat. Saquon Barkley, I think, is going to start climbing up the Heisman ranks once Big Ten play comes around and if Penn State wins Big Ten games. But honestly, my top 2 Heisman candidates are Mayfield and Darnold, because Sam Darnold leading USC to an overtime win against a Texas team that has improved a lot since
2
losing to
overtimes.
Maryland. 2 overtimes, yeah. USC is back. USC's back. They have a chance to make the playoff. They probably are going to win the Pac-12. Washington is not that bad either, but USC has had some good wins.
Yeah, I know. It's hard not to just have Mayfield and Darnold as your 2 to win. I'm going to stick with my guy Saquon, who I picked before the season. He's been awesome, and I think that this week playing against a Big Ten team, people are going to be surprised by how dominant he still is because he's just an absolute beast out there. And it's like you said, it's hard to go against a quarterback based on recent trends, but I'm going to go with Saquon.
I think the finalists are going to be Darnold, Mayfield, Saquon Barkley, and Mason Rudolph.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Because Mason Rudolph's just been lighting it up, and I think that's going to continue because Oklahoma State's got a crazy receiving core. And,
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to continue. So I think those are going to be the finalists. I mean, I think Darnold has got to be the overall favorite, right? I mean,
Probably the
he
overall
made some
favorite, yeah.
beautiful throws against Texas in crunch time.
The only reason I'd say he might not be the overall favorite is because the Big 12, I think, is worse than the Pac-12. Like this week, USC's playing Cal. Oklahoma's playing Baylor. Cal's undefeated 3-0. Pac-12 has some really good teams at the bottom there. I mean, you've got Washington at 7. You got Oregon in the mix. You got Utah in the mix.
UCLA is still solid.
Washington State's really good.
Stanford
UCLA is
was
solid.
top 25 till this
Stanford
week.
was, but they're still okay. But the Big 12 is awful. Oklahoma State does play TCU. That's a big test for them. It is at home. and that's going to be tough.
TCU's not what they once were, though.
They're 16 now. They're playing good
But
football.
I mean, they're still.
No, they're not what they once were when Andy Dalton was actually not throwing interceptions and scoring touchdowns. Back in those days. So, yeah, we'll see what TCU does against Oklahoma State. There's also shout out to Virginia Tech. I don't like Virginia Tech because I like Wahoo Virginia Cavaliers. That's where my brother went, but Virginia Tech's looking really good. They're playing Old Dominion. And they're going to crush them, most likely. There's going to be a lot of close games. There's going to be a lot of destruction games. Bama Vanderbilt could be a close game, for example, but Alabama will probably win in their classic Alabama fashion. Let's score 20 points, but let's only give up 3.
Did you see the ridiculous video some Vanderbilt player made saying Bama's next because Vanderbilt's won a couple games, and someone said Bama's next, and Jalen Hurts said, yeah, well, they're right. I mean, technically, we are next on the schedule. But it's just ridiculous having Vanderbilt make that claim. Like, what?
Well, you know what? They've got confidence. Yeah,
I don't hate it.
They beat Kansas State, who's not ranked anymore.
Vandy, though.
You gotta have that confidence. You can't come in saying, "Oh, we're playing Bama, we're gonna get murdered."
Yeah, but
we played Western Kentucky, beat them last week, and all Illini fans bring on Bama.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
I personally said we want Bama.
Every college football team.
You said that after Ball State, Tommy.
Every college football.
I didn't say that.
No,
You're wrong
no,
there.
not after Ball State. After Western Kentucky.
I was feeling good, but
I mean, that's what every college
Little back down.
fan base does. Like, come on. After Oklahoma beat Ohio State, Oklahoma's like, probably bring on Bama, or we're going to beat Bama because we just beat Ohio
I don't
State.
want Bama anymore. I want Oklahoma in the Sugar Bowl.
You want Oklahoma in the Sugar Bowl. All right, Oklahoma, Illinois Sugar Bowl. Mark it down. And
Baker Mayfield would pick us apart.
And the thing is you want them in the Sugar Bowl. The Sugar Bowl is one of the playoff semi bowls this year. So Illinois makes the playoff.
Yeah,
there you go.
They're gonna scoop Penn State out.
Mark it down on your calendars for New Year's Eve. You're gonna watch Baker Mayfield and Chase Crouch ball it out when Oklahoma plays Illinois. We'll see.
After he tosses that flag in the middle of the
Oh
boom.
goodness! In the middle of the Superdome, yeah. We'll see if that happens. We'll keep fantasizing about what our playoff semifinals will be at the break. But when we come back, I'll give you guys a quick score update, and then we will go to our final thoughts. We return to Illini Drive here on WPGU 1071.
You're watching Illini Drive on Urbana Public Television. Tune in Monday nights at 6 p.m. to listen live on WPGU 1071.
And we're back to Illini Drive here on WPGU 1071. Here's a quick look at what's happening in the world of sports and what happened yesterday. The Chicago Bears are 0-2 after their 29-7 loss against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike Glennon, that's your team now, yeah.
Yeah, since when are the Bucs your team? Can I just jump?
When we made predictions.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Okay.
I remember that. Because I was so confused when you texted that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, Jameis Winston
my
leading to the
Bucs.
Super Bowl.
Week 2 in
Not
the
win, but they're making it.
Yeah. Week 2 in the NFL concludes tonight when the New York Giants host the Detroit Lions on Monday Night Football. Odell Beckham Jr., for all you Beckham Jr. fantasy owners, he will be playing. We'll see how much of an effect he has as the Giants look to rebound after their terrible loss against the Dallas Cowboys. And finally, in baseball, the Chicago White Sox almost getting no hit yesterday against the Detroit Tigers. They were managed to get one hit
With two outs.
with two outs in the ninth. Matthew Boyd almost throwing the no-hitter. Tigers winning 12-0. And then the Cubs sweeping the Cardinals with their big victory at Wrigley Field yesterday. Neither of those teams are playing today. The most notable MLB action, we got the Yankees hosting the Twins. They're up 1-0 with an Aaron Judge homer. Baltimore up 4-0 against the Red Sox on the bottom of the second. So the race for the AL East is getting close. And a wild card NL update. The Brewers are playing the Pirates in Pittsburgh. No score in the second inning. And we will lead off final thoughts with our producer, Will Gerard, who's been tweeting for us today since Jay's not here. And since we just talked about baseball, Will's going to talk about baseball. And guess what? The Cubs swept the Cards.
Just want to say right now, for everyone listening out there, watch out for the Cubs in October. The Cubs are getting hot at the right time, 6 wins in a row. And just as a Cubs fan, it was a nice sigh of relief to see them sweep the Cardinals. Because I know there were a few fans, they were chirping, saying, oh, look, we're only a few games behind. But this weekend, the Cubs really showed that they're the superior team. Their bullpen looked fantastic. They've been scoring tons of runs lately. I'm really excited for some October baseball.
I think the Cubs officially just remembered that they're the World Series champions. And once they know that, there's no stopping them. This team is built for October. R.I.P. to our friend Jake over here, resident Cardinals fan.
The Cardinals are dead, Jake.
Yeah, I know. I've been
Dead.
saying it since July.
shovel out,
I've
get
been
your
saying the
broom
Cardinals
out,
are not a playoff
bury
team
'em
since
and sweep it
July.
up.
I agree. I totally agree. Blow it up. Trade everyone. Alex Reyes has been gone. As
some
soon as Alex Reyes
organization.
UCL gave out, I knew that we would have to rely on Adam Wainwright's ancient elbow, and that would not go well.
Give me all the Wayno tears. I need them.
I mean, he's done. Like, he's washed. But if you honestly can sit here and tell me that the Cubs are getting past the Nationals, you're clinically insane.
Whoa.
Bryce Harper isn't even playing.
They have 3 Cy Young contenders in the rotation. What do the Cubs have?
They have a fantastic bullpen, and they have the reigning World Series champs. This is the reigning World Series champs they're talking about. You're saying, oh, you're insane if you think they're beating the
Yeah.
Nationals.
When the last time a team won back-to-back World Series?
Don't give me that history.
It's the
stuff.
Yankees.
Don't give me those
Yankees fan.
facts.
Yankees
But
fan.
that's what I'm
That's what I'm
saying.
saying. You
And
know,
when
you
was
know.
that? 97, 98,
Okay.
99?
Every 20 years,
no,
we
not
need it to
99.
happen again.
Yeah. Back-to-back just doesn't happen in baseball. It's almost as
It's tough.
it doesn't
I mean,
happen.
I mean, the Cubs have
Football,
regressed
none
to the
of it.
mean,
Well, it's a
too.
back-to-back-
I mean, look at the Cubs had 3 Cy Young contenders last year. They have 0 this year. They have less than 0
A lot of
if you
injuries.
count John Lackey.
I mean, considering they played so
John
deep into
Lackey.
November, it must be tough for them to be bouncing back and playing all these innings. I'm not going to make excuses.
Cleveland played deep in November too, and look at them.
and
They
Andrew
just
Miller was terrible in the first half. Kluber took some time to get going. Obviously, he's back now. I'm not going to say Kluber.
yeah,
I'm just
Kluber's
gonna
gonna win the Cy Young. What are you
he
talking
should.
about?
I'm just saying he started out a little bit slow. Miller started out slow. Cubs had a slow first half. They're back.
I cannot wait for the postseason. It's going to be so much fun
be
when
heated.
baseball playoffs
The
get
Nationals
underway.
are beating
It's
the
also-
Cubs.
No,
this
I-
is set in
also-
stone.
I'm on Team Jake here.
It's
Nats are going to
also a
win.
back-to-back year. We're coming off of Penguins back-to-back Stanley Cup.
I think you're forgetting to factor for the fact that the Nationals have Dusty Baker in their dugout making the
That is
decisions.
true.
Yep.
That's a good point.
Yep.
But Joe Madden, that's a good
Yep.
point. But Joe Madden is not the manager that he
No,
was in
but you know what?
2008, 2009 through 2011 with the
the
Rays.
thing with him is like he's managing as if we were that young Rays team, and he needs to get everything out of a minor league team. This is a team full of what were at least once all-stars and are currently the reigning World Series champs.
I'm
The
sorry.
Nationals have a ton of all-stars too.
I'm not saying that. I'm talking Joe Madden right here.
Okay.
I'm not saying that the Nationals are a bad team. I think they're a wonderful team. They're very talented.
I'm
I
sorry.
love Bryce Harper.
But honestly,
Just saying.
come on. The whole Dusty Baker argument, it might just be a bad luck thing because
It's a
my
joke,
my
yeah.
opinion about baseball managers, they don't do anything. They just make pitching changes and motivate the team.
Oh,
compared
disagree.
compared to
Hard
football,
disagree.
basketball, and hockey
I mean,
coaches. who
you're
have to
gonna
make
you're gonna
plays.
look at Terry Francona and tell me that.
Whoa,
No,
whoa, whoa. You
he's-
said basketball? You're trying to say that Tyronn Lue does more than Joe Madden? Don't give me that.
He
Don't
makes
even try and give
plays.
it. LeBron is their coach.
That's a good point. Come on.
Okay.
Come on.
Hockey, I'll give you. What else did you say?
Football.
Sure. Don't try and tell me basketball coaches do more than that. Will be coaches.
We'll have that discussion later. We're gonna move on now to Jake's final
Steven
thought.
Strasburg is on a scoreless inning streak. Just by the way, that's over 30. So I just
Yeah, Strasburg's starting to peak. But let's go
I
to
love
Jake
Steven
now for his final thought. He's not talking baseball. He's talking football and about the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, so after the horrifying loss to the Bucks this past weekend, a lot of people want Trubisky in. I'm against it because the Bears' offensive line is decimated, and I'd rather see Glennon take those hits. I'd rather see Glennon get sacked a million times and than just get beat up behind that line instead of Trubisky. I mean, protect Trubisky, protect Shaheen, protect Cohen. I mean, just wave the flag on the season. I mean, it's over. Like, it's not a good team. They have no receivers. Jordan Howard is not running as he did last year, not even close. The offensive line is not going to be a top 10 line like it was. Take some hope in the defense because they're good. Not good. They're decent, and they're going to get better next year. Bears fans should already be looking at 2018 because that's when you're going to see Trubisky, and that's when you should want to see him.
The real question is when the Bears do get the first pick in the draft, when the Browns
Calvin Ridley.
beat the Colts. Yeah, who do they pick?
Calvin Ridley.
I'm with Tommy. They got to take a receiver.
Calvin Ridley.
And then you
wanna
start
say-
Trubisky
I wanna-
next year.
I want to say Saquon, but like we have two.
You
other
have
guys.
Howard
I know,
and
I
Cohen.
know,
They have-
I'm saying,
they have
I
a
want-
great
as much
two-headed
as I- As
monster.
much as I would love
Barkley
to
might
have
go to the
Saquon,
Browns.
The noises.
What kind of reaction was that?
Don't ruin his career.
Oh, come on.
The Browns don't have a bad line.
Look at Joe Thomas. The guy is a legend,
That's fair.
and
I
he's
would
played 10
love-
years for them.
I would love to see my boy Deshaun Kaiser. Was
Kaiser and
on
Barkley
our-
would be
That
pretty.
was
Yeah,
sweet.
then the Browns become your favorite team, and then we can have another Browns fan.
No,
But
I'm
I
a
mean,
Bucks guy.
I mean,
yeah, you're a
the
Bucks
Bears.
guy.
I mean, the Bears. If they get the first pick, they got to trade it. They got to trade back because Ridley.
Yeah, we want-
Ridley will last.
Yeah,
and then
I
you
want
got
Ridley.
Ridley, Cam Meredith, Shaheen.
Do you think
the
Ridley's
two
the
running
top receiver?
probably.
I
I
would
mean,
say
no.
so.
What's his name in Oklahoma State? Probably.
I don't trust Oklahoma.
I don't
State
remember
wide
his name,
receivers.
but Oklahoma State. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
look
true.
at Justin Blackman.
Yeah, that's true.
I want Ridley.
I would also
Next Julio
vote
Jones
for
right
Ridley.
there.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the question is when do the Bears get their first win? I don't think it's happening next week when they're playing the Steelers. Browns might get their first win next week against Indianapolis because the Colts also look pretty bad. But let's go now
Colts are
to
so bad.
Let's go to Tommy's final thought. We move from the diamond to the gridiron, now to the ice as preseason hockey's underway. NHL starting soon.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. NHL hockey preseason started last night with a couple games. Vegas won 9-4, which is unbelievable.
That's awesome.
Their first ever preseason game, first ever game against an actual NHL team, and they won 9-4. But yeah, no, I'm feeling good. Hockey's back. I gotta say it. I mean, people might see me as like somebody who's like, hey, this is my team. I think they're gonna win it. The Hawks are really good this year. People are underestimating. They're saying, oh, we lost Panarin. Oh, we lost Hjalmarsson. Oh, we lost.
That was a
Yeah.
good trade.
It was good for both sides, I think. But this team is very underlooked right now. And after what happened last year, they're going to be hungry. They're going to be angry. They're saying, oh, we got swept by. Everybody's like, oh, they're too old. They got swept by Nashville. They got blown out of the water. This is a team of veterans that I would not sleep on this year. And I think that they could go very far.
I think they can go very far too. Blackhawks are looking really good. I mean, they're going to want to come back after getting swept by Nashville, who also is going to be good in the West. St. Louis has got a good chance. I know you
Louis
hate
is
the
great.
Blues,
They're a
but
great team this year.
they're an
Dallas
excellent
looks
team.
good.
But what about who's coming out of the East? Is it going to be Pittsburgh again?
I don't see anybody beating them. It's gotta
You
be
don't see
Pittsburgh.
Columbus or Washington beating them.
I mean,
You could say
those are-
Washington as much as you want, and
But
it
they're-
happens
it's-
every year.
it's
Same
their-
old story.
every year. Same old
Washington
story.
is not going to get past the first round.
No, they won't get past the second round
True. Sorry.
because they'll sweep Buffalo or Toronto again. No,
I
Toronto,
would
maybe
love
not.
to see. I'll pick my sleeper. I'd say I'd love to see Toronto make it. Have Austin Matthews in his second year make some big leaps. They have a young team they're gonna be really good for a long time. And like honestly, the fact that they gave Washington that much of like a series last year, they end up going to 7 games.
Yeah.
That's impressive. I mean, and they're only gonna be better because Austin Matthews. I'm not gonna say he's Connor McDavid, but he's right below him.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The real sleeper team, in my opinion, is the
Edmonton's
Edmonton Oilers.
sick, yeah.
Connor McDavid, one of the
It's
best
filthy.
stats I ever saw. Connor McDavid won the MVP 21 years or younger. Only 2 other guys have done that. Wayne Gretzky and Sidney Crosby.
Yeah.
So
No,
literally
Edmonton
Connor McDavid is
sick.
the next greatest player in hockey.
I think he has he has the ability as long as he stays healthy and with the guys he's playing with, Draisaitl, all those guys out there, he could be a top 3 player of all time.
I agree. Austin Matthews will be close. I think it'll be
Austin's really good.
Matthews McDavid.
they're
is
the
new-
next two.
The next Crosby Ovechkin.
Eichel's
Yeah.
in there too. People forget about him.
And it's
Eichel's
great.
awesome.
And for Canadians, it's really good because Canada hasn't won a Stanley Cup since '93. Now with Matthews in Toronto, McDavid in Edmonton, really good chance for Canadians to finally get a Stanley Cup winner after so long.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for hockey. Early October, it's coming up soon in 2 weeks. As you're listening to Illini Drive here on WPGU 1071, brought to you by the Illinois Fighting Illini. For tickets and info, fightingillini.com or 1-866-Illini-1 on the phone. Time for my final thought. I'm moving back to football, and I just want to say the AFC West is the best division in the NFL. Hands down, easily. Remember 6 years ago when Tim Tebow was winning this division with Denver? And who else were the starting quarterbacks? You had maybe Jamarcus Russell in Oakland. Phillip Rivers still stinking for LA. He's the most overrated quarterback in this generation.
Don't hate on my boy Phillip.
No. And you had what? Kyle Orton on Denver and then on Kansas City. Who else was on Kansas City in early 2000s?
Didn't they have Brady Quinn for
Brady
a while?
Quinn from Dublin, Ohio, former Notre Dame.
Castle.
Matt Castle, after he had his breakout year for New England, and he went around the whole NFL. But look at this division now. Denver dominated Dallas, destroyed them. Zeke had 8 rushing yards. Trevor Siemian had 4 touchdown passes, and Denver's starting to look like the team they were 2 years ago when they won the Super Bowl, except their offense looks a lot better because Trevor Siemian is becoming a better quarterback.
7th round pick. How about that? Trevor Siemian,
Northwestern.
Yeah.
7th round pick out of
Northwestern, and this guy is throwing 4 touchdowns against Dallas. Then you got Kansas City, beat New England, and then they beat Philly in a comeback. Travis Kelce could be one of the top 2 tight end in the league.
Kelsey's
I'll give it to him over Gronk.
over Gronk?
Over
Yes.
Gronk?
Who's your top 2?
Gronk.
Kelsey and Gronk, but I think Kelsey's number 1. I think
Okay,
Kelsey's the best.
I thought you were saying Kelsey knocked him out at top.
No.
No.
I think Kelsey's number one, and Gronk.
I still think Gronk's better too. Now that Greg Olson's injured, though, Kelsey has a big chance to be best tight end in the league this season. Casey's looking really good. They've got, in my opinion, the rookie of the year candidate right now in Kareem Hunt. The guy's a beast.
Yeah.
3rd round out of Toledo, and you had guys like Fournette, McCaffrey, and Cook going 1st round. Kareem Hunt's already got 5 touchdowns this year. KC looks great. And Oakland could beat New England in the AFC Championship. The Raiders look tremendous. They're having fun. Derek Carr is worth all the money they paid for him. Marshawn Lynch is back, and he's having fun, dancing on the sideline, scoring touchdowns, breaking tackles. They can't bring the guy down, and Michael Crabtree is the most underrated receiver in the league. Had 3 touchdowns in a huge 45-20 win over the Jets. Chargers obviously don't count in this AFC West as the best because the Chargers stink. But fun stat about California football, Chargers and the Rams didn't even beat the attendance combined for the USC game.
Jeez.
Crazy.
That's so sad.
California football is in just such a bad place besides the Raiders. Chargers stink. 49ers are awful. Rams, I think, will be better. But
Goff actually looks like a quarterback this year.
But seriously, AFC West, there's going to be 3 teams coming out of this division for the playoffs. It's going to be one of those 3 wins the division. 2 of those guys get wild card because South looks bad. North, I don't think Baltimore's going to keep it up. And then the East is also just terrible.
I just love the Raiders because can you believe Michael Crabtree was had no interest on the free agent market 2 years ago and had to settle for a 1-year deal with Oakland, and now he's just amazing again, like he was in his early career with San Francisco. And I just love the way Marshawn Lynch runs. He runs through the air angrily. Not even when there's not even when there's defenders around, he just stomps the air. It's just funny.
Yeah. And this is just, besides the fact that the West is the best division, this is just such a great story about the division because you notice most of the players making highlights in this division, they're not super, super high picks. Michael Crabtree and Amari Cooper, yes, 1st rounders. But Kareem Hunt, 3rd round. Trevor Siemian, 7th round. C.J. Anderson wasn't that much of a high running back.
Derek Carr was a
2nd round pick out of Fresno State. Much better than his brother. I mean, miles ahead of David Carr. But Derek Carr is a tremendous quarterback. He could be the MVP if Oakland keeps it up. He
had a good shot at it last year if he didn't get hurt.
I know. If he didn't get hurt, the Raiders would have at least won a playoff game.
They would have won to the AFC Championship.
I think Pittsburgh still would have beaten them. But it doesn't really matter now. Now it's whether or not the Raiders can get past the Steelers and play New England in the AFC Championship.
Steelers look good, too.
Or even if New England makes the AFC Championship, they're not off to a great start. Tom Brady had a great first quarter,
Tommy B is back.
I mean, it's not saying much when you beat the Saints handily, but
you knew Tom Brady would throw 4 touchdowns in that game after losing to KC the way they did. That's just what Brady does. But yeah, we've got...
who else is going to win that division? Miami? Buffalo?
Jay Cutler got a win against the Chargers. You never know.
Does it.
Dude, Tyrod Taylor in Buffalo.
This is so funny for me to look at the AFC standings right now and see Miami on top.
At 1-0.
Yeah.
And that's going to be really tough this year with the AFC East and the NFC South because Miami and Tampa didn't play that game in week 1. So
They've got 16 straight weeks.
I know, you're really never going to know who's winning that division until week 12 when everyone is equal amount of games.
It's my boy James.
It would be really crazy if because Miami always has that signature win against the Pats.
Yeah.
That's just, kind of weird and out there. And then it'd be crazy if that happened to win the division over the Patriots. Yeah. That'd be insane. I think Boston would implode.
Wow, yeah. Boston might just fall off the map.
Just imagine Jay Cutler throwing a game-winning touchdown to win the division over the Pats.
And then maybe in that same time frame, the Red Sox get swept by Houston or something.
Actually, I think if Jay Cutler
and
took
then
the Dolphins,
Kyrie Irving drops 10 points in the opener against the Cavs.
If Jay Cutler took the Dolphins to the playoffs, I think Chicago would implode too. I think Boston and Chicago would just fall into the earth.
Will's rooting for Jay. Yeah,
I love Jay.
Oh no, I love him too. But I just think Chicago would not be able to handle it.
Oh boy. Well,
tough.
Go enjoy some money.
We got Mike Lennon.
Yeah, we got Mike.
We're doing well.
Oh God,
okay.
Everything's fine.
I'm sorry. No, it's not.
Give me 10, God.
Enjoy some Monday Night Football tonight with the Giants and the Lions. We're gonna go watch some football, get some homework done, and chill out for the rest of this Monday night. Thank you for tuning in. For Tommy Polcyn, Jake Hasan, and Will Gerard, I am Orri Benatar. Make sure to listen to us again 6 p.m. for Illini Drive on WPGU 107.1.